series. Today we will be discussing a very horrific and sensitive topic at the same time. I am, of course, referring to the suicide forest, the Agigahara forest, aka suicide forest. Um, just so I don't butcher the name, I'm going to refer to it as the suicide forest going forward, just so I don't have to say Aogigahara a half a dozen times and butcher the name. So yeah. So one of the reasons I chose this topic because, well, I mean, why not? Because it is kind of mysterious, it is kind of creepy, and it is just a little bit bizarre and weird of why this place is one of the most creepy and dangerous places you could be in the world, really. Um, as I stated in my last video, I'm by no means a professional novice at this video making, so you're going to see me refer to my notebook today. I'm running out of little sticky notes, so had to do the old notebook today. Normally, I do theories as to why I think this certain topic is, but since we're dealing with the suicide forest, I'm just going to list a bunch of facts and, give you some insight about them and give you my thoughts and opinions on it. And I mean, maybe I'll give you a theory at the end, but I mean, by no means is that even necessary, just because it's really hard to understand why people, feel the need to go into this forest and end their lives. So, without any further ado, let us discuss the Agigahara, that's the last time I'm mentioning it, forest, aka the suicide forest. So, it's a forest in Japan, and on the bright side, it's a popular destination for tourists and school trips. So, it's got that going for it. Unfortunately, I don't know about you, but as a tourist or, student going on a school trip, I don't know how I would feel walking into a forest where you could possibly see not one dead body, not two dead bodies, not three, not four, not five, not six, and I could probably go on. You could see a massive amount of dead bodies on a field trip or just touring, walking through the woods. That's alarming to me. That is no wonder. It's no wonder that I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you. So here we go. Like I said, it's a popular destination for tourists and school trips. Uh, it's one of the world's most used suicide sites. I don't know of any other one, particularly off the top of my head, so that's not good. I'm just gonna assume it's number one. Don't quote me on that, but let's assume it's probably number one. It has a historical reputation as the home to ghosts of the dead in Japanese mythology. So try to believe this. Prior to people killing themselves in this forest, in Japanese mythology, the forest was already known as ghosts to have ghosts of the dead. So maybe that's one of the reasons. Maybe some people just figure, like, in Japanese mythology, they figure, well, it's already called the ghosts of the dead. I'll just add to it. Again, I don't know, but that's pretty alarming, troubling, if you will. Now I'm going to give you some statistics. In 2010, more than 200 people attempted suicide in the suicide forest, and 54 succeeded. So I imagine when authorities probably came across, when they went into the forest, they were luckily able to save and help some of the people that they could see were withering away because they attempted to take their own lives. But unfortunately, 54 of those people actually did so. So that's unfortunate. The uh, the usual means of suicide in the forest are either by hanging or drug overdose. Again, not good. Um, I'm not gonna delve deep into that. Obviously, drug overdose is what it is. But I mean, hangings, I could probably understand just because there's probably a lot of branches and trees in that forest. So it's probably an easy means to do, take your own life. Um, let's see. Oh, suicides actually increase in the forest during this month, the month we are now in, March, because that is the end of the fiscal year in Japan. I did not know that. So yeah, during this month, unfortunately, is when people decide to go to the forest to end their own lives. There's actually when before you enter the forest, there's actually a sign. I've actually seen it in videos and on TV when they have in documentaries that they talk about. There's a sign at entry point of the forest, and it tells you to please don't take your own life. Please, consider your family, and get help. And I think as crazy as that is, that there's a sign outside of a forest that tells you not to kill yourself. Obviously, I feel in this particular instance, it's necessary because it's really unfortunate that people, for whatever reason, want to kill themselves, and they feel the need that they can do so by going to this forest. So it's weird that the sign's up, but at the same time, it's I I totally understand why it's there. Um, in recent years, officials have stopped publicizing the numbers to stop the amount of people from killing themselves. So I read you the number in 2010. I didn't see the information of where they stopped, but I imagine every year until recently, officials, public officials would come out and they would give the number of people who killed themselves in this forest. But they stopped doing that because, well, they were like, let's just stop doing this. If we can stop people from killing themselves by any means necessary, let's do it. And let's start doing that by stop publicizing the numbers. So again, I think the sign is a good help. I believe the stopping of publicizing the numbers is also a good help as well. So that's good on their part. Since 1970, police and journalists have conducted body searches throughout the forest. That's I don't know about you, but when I think of that, that gives me chills. Like imagine having it's one thing to imagine being a police officer or a journalist, but imagine being that person to be like, "Oh, what are you gonna be well, like, what shift do you have today?" Like, "Oh, I have to go into the suicide forest and look for bodies." Like, I can't even imagine that. And the crazy part is you're very likely to find a body. That's the crazy part. Like, it's one thing to get that job to go into the forest to conduct a body search, but it's even crazier knowing that there's probably like a 90% chance you're gonna find something. That's that's troubling. So and that's from 1970. Can you believe that? Since 1970, they conduct body searches in the suicide forest. That's that's like over 40 years. So that's how long this has been happening. It's it's really quite troubling. So again, I'm just gonna go over the stuff again just so I can give you some more insight and my own personal opinions on the stuff that I'm reading. So it's a popular destination for tourist and school trips. Why? But, like, the tourist part I get, like, because people from, the United States, other countries, they hear about it being the suicide forest. They wanna check it out for themselves. But why in the hell would you conduct a school trip in a forest is the first thing. And 2, is it because it's a like, people kill themselves? And, like, I don't I can't I just would not have a field trip in a forest. Never mind one called the suicide forest. That one baffles me. I get the tourist part, though. One of the world's most used suicide sites, obviously, since 1970, apparently. Historical reputation as ghosts of the dead in Japanese mythology. I'd like to think, or at least hope that, maybe some of the people, as depressed or upset as they are, and they're thinking about killing themselves in this forest, maybe it's tradition that they know that this forest is referred to as the place of ghosts of the dead, So maybe they think to themselves, well, gee, this is where I'm going to honor, you know, I know I'm going to go out in a bad way, but in the most honorable and respectable way, ghosts of the dead, people haunt this forest, so I too want to haunt this forest. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand. That is creepy that it was known as the ghosts of the dead in Japanese mythology long before anybody offed themselves in this forest. So again, it's troubling, but at the same time, it makes you wonder. In 2010, more than 2,000 people attempted suicide. There was actually another number. The prior year, 2009, it was actually 74. So just look at that, from like an increase from 74 to 200 within a year. Out of those 200 people, 54 actually, unfortunately, succeeded in taking their own lives. Suicides increased during this month, the month we are now in March, because in Japan, March is the end of the fiscal year. Now, I don't know whether that's obviously not good. So they have the sign, they have what else do they have there? Oh, they stopped the publicizing. Maybe try to do something for this month. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if they don't, I would strongly suggest somebody get on top of that. Like in the month of March, like go to that forest by any means and try to stop people. Like I just said, the sign at entry point actually suggests, please think of your family. Please don't go into this forest if you're going to kill yourself. How much has this sign worked? I don't know, but at least it's there. It's going to benefit somebody, thankfully. The common means of killing yourself in the suicide forest are by hanging or drug overdoses, which again is unfortunate, but I get it. Like obviously those are the two things. I actually do remember last year, um, one of the YouTube people, Jake Paul, I'm unfamiliar with the Paul brothers, but one of them went into the suicide forest and he actually filmed a skeleton or a body against a tree, and he got into a boatload of trouble for it. And this is what you don't do. Like if you're gonna go to the forest, again, there's a like 90% chance you're gonna come across a dead body. With that in mind, you should probably have some respect. Clearly, this guy didn't. So, yeah, you should probably not, like, don't have your phone on, don't film while you're in the suicide forest because, yeah, just don't do it. Like, come on. It goes without saying, but I mean, there's probably people, not just him, that have done it. And like I said, last but not least, body searches have been conducted since 1970 that go around every year and they go through this forest looking for bodies. Like that's crazy. I remember one time in the forest near me, it was in the paper. This was a few years ago. They actually found a body near the river in the woods that I walked through. And the crazy part was the day that this was in the paper, I was in the woods the day before they found the body. So, that's if I had come across a body in my own woods, I would have been freaked out and I would have called the authorities and stuff. But to walk through the suicide forest, I don't think I could. I really don't think I could. Just because like no. Like I'm into horror and stuff, but that's real life. That's real life horror, that's real life terror, and that's just something you don't want to come across. So I'll give you my closing thoughts on the suicide forest. Why have people chosen this destination to end their lives? Again, I haven't the faintest idea. If I had a thought, it would probably be maybe because, like I said, they know that in Japanese mythology, it's known as ghosts of the dead. So in their own way, they know if I'm going to end my life, I can become one of the ghosts of the dead. If that makes sense. Like I'm not saying that's right, but it's the only thing I can think of because Japanese are very cultural. They honor themselves in a lot of respectable ways. So maybe that's what they think. Maybe because the forest is very alluring and not in a good way. Maybe it draws people there. Maybe the people are already depressed and they know about the history, and ghosts of the dead aside, they think to themselves, well, this is where everybody else ends it, so this is where I will too. Again, I don't know. I'm just trying to speculate as to why people decide, hey, this is a great place for me to end my life. Like I have no idea. Um, Popular culture, popular media today, a lot more people know about the forest because, I mean, it's not because of the numbers, because we now that they've stopped doing that, but we blow things up. We as a society blow things out of proportion. So naturally, a place like this isn't going to be a secret for too long. There's a movie on it. I actually saw the movie. It's pretty good. It's it's obviously it's a horror movie, but I also believe that before beginning of the film or after, they actually do, they say, they tell you about the history of the forest, but it also says, it's not okay that this is known as a suicide forest, and I would agree. I would think that the place is crawling with ghosts and spirits. I would imagine you would get a feeling, even if you're not into like the paranormal, if you walk into that forest and you're a normal person, you don't have such thoughts, you're probably going to have the overwhelming sensation of just being creeped out, haunted, like someone's watching you. And, like as somebody into the horror and the paranormal, like if I'm going to go into an abandoned building, I'm gonna say, yeah, I would love to experience that. But when it comes to a forest known as a suicide forest, I'm gonna pass because it's too chilling. It's jarring, and I know full well I'm probably gonna walk out of there like traumatized. So again, it's unfortunate that people have, we've now as a society and Japanese culture have deemed this the suicide forest. I would hope it goes down. It's one of the creepiest. It's also, last but not least, this would be my last thought. It is one of the creepiest places in the world, and it should be because finding 200 bodies a year in a forest is just, yeah, it's pretty extreme. So like I said, no theories today. I give you two theories. But this is a more chilling episode of Mystery Unsolved. Um, I will be back next week for a let's see, what should I do? I got my list over in my drawer. I'm not gonna get up to go get it. But either next or in the coming weeks, there will be a special video. The topic will be special because I'm gonna go all out. But I'm not sure which I want to do yet, so don't quote me on that just yet. But until next week, I hope you've enjoyed the latest video of Mystery Unsolved, the Suicide Forest. Uh, whether you're watching it now or watching it on the playback, I hope you enjoyed, and until next week.